This is where we talk to amazing women from around the world, sharing their insight and inspiration. These are women who are leaders, they're speakers, they're coaches, they're authors, and entrepreneurs. And you know what? They're good citizens. They want to help serve you with their story. So we're coming at you a little bit differently today. So middle of the afternoon, almost evening here. If you're up as far north as we are evening. It is already dark. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter where you are. I am super excited about our guest today. I got a really great feeling when I had an opportunity to meet her. She came in and she spoke with me for 2 minutes. She only had 2 minutes, and it was a very powerful 2 minutes. And I think a lot of us will be able to relate to everything that Michaela is about to share with us. Now, first of all, she has an awesome name, and here we go, folks. Michaela Kelley Canterbury. I love that name, Michaela Kelley Canterbury. It's a beautiful name. Is a lawyer, writer, and author who recently released Sister Siren, a nonfiction about addiction, a field guide on how to love an addict that shot to #1 hot new release on Amazon. Michaela obtained her JD at Gonzaga University School of Law in Spokane. Sorry, folks. I just realized I don't have my glasses on, so it's very hard to see this. Uh, Gonzaga's University School of Law in Spokane, Washington, and graduated from Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with a BA in political science and a minor in philosophy. Michaela is licensed to practice law in Alaska and is an owner, operator, and lead trial lawyer at Kelley and Canterbury, LLC, where she works with her husband, Christopher, whom she calls her partner in all things. Michaela resides in Eagle River, Alaska with Christopher, where they raise their son, daughter, and dogs in the same valley and woods where she was raised. So let's get her into the studio here. Hello, Michaela. We made this happen. The absolute essence of resilience has been just getting to live today between internet and links and this and that. Awesome. So, Michaela, I'm at this point, I would love to just, don't worry. What's your pup's name?
His name is Clyde. I'm sorry. He wants me to.
Clyde. That's a good name.
Clyde.
Clyde's got the Georgia peach there. I want to just turn this over because I think your story is very cool in the sense that you're in the same space that you were raised in. So you've got roots really deep, and a lot of us don't have that type of thing. So share with us a little bit of your journey of who you are, so we can get a bit of a pre-frame as to why this new chapter, pun completely intended, is presenting itself.
Yeah, so I was raised in Alaska, and my family came up here in the early to mid 70s, and that was sorry, Clyde, we're not playing ball right now. Anyway, my family they drove the Alcan up to Alaska, and it was really an idyllic place to live, and it was a land of opportunity coming to Alaska at that time. I mean, there was you could do anything you wanted in Alaska. And so my parents made a home here and laid the foundation themselves and got water and sewer and all that. And it was a very safe place to live and raise a family and all that. And it's, it still is. I mean, Alaska's a young state and it's still a land of opportunity. So my parents' generation really laid the footing, if you will, for our community of Eagle River. And so we all know each other, and I went to school with my peers and they all came back, and we have kids. And so our kids are friends and they're, hanging out. It's just really a great place to be. I mean, everybody. So like when you go to the store, You see everybody, and everybody knows your business. Like, it's just the way it is. I mean, that's a good thing, and it's as my book talks about, it's a thing. you know.
It's a thing. Well, it's interesting how you said some left, but they came back. And I find that really interesting because I know that our family's going through that. I have my sister and her children just moved back to our home area. And
Mhm.
I find it really interesting how so many people do leave and then they come back to raise their family or, a space of healing or a space of support or something along those lines. You
Exactly.
are in what order in your family? How many kids were there?
Yeah, it's just my sister and I. So I'm the older sister, and there's 13 years between us. So there's like a generation and a half between us. So my parents got a built-in babysitter, to her, I was like a really cool sub parent. But for me, of course, that brought an overwhelming sense of responsibility and the maternal stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a period of time where I went off to college and I went off to law school. So in a way, we were two only children. In a way, there was this cool sub-parent built-in babysitter, sense of responsibility, maybe
Yep.
exaggerated, type thing. So it's a unique sibling relationship. I'm sorry about that, Kim. Always
So
knows.
good. We'll be editing this in post.
Lord have mercy.
So, and I went through the same thing. So, my oldest is 11 years older than the next child, and then 13 years older than the baby. Now, I don't know if he would have been a built in babysitter, but oh no, pretty sure. Yeah, no. But I do understand the whole two only children. And I know that I had a very different set of expectations and engagement with the younger children than I did with my older child. So does that did you experience any of that? Was there any kind of different you felt that there was a little bit different there?
Yes. Also, I mean, just another little layer to this is that my father's the oldest of nine, right? So, and then my mother, she had an older sister, 9 years spread. So, kind of, if you have those two kind of overlaying the presentation of my sister and I, but yeah, I mean, I was, with my parents, I was like part of the team. I was like, we were coming up the Alcan together and with the cat, and we were laying the foundation, and we were doing that together, because my parents weren't they weren't the high functioning professionals that they eventually became. They were, building. They were young. And when my sister was born, my mom is head of the department, PhD, and my dad's, he was lead trial lawyer, and it was of the firm. And so we were at a different space. Our family was at a different space, when my sister was born. So really two different. We were raised differently.
And I'm guessing it was more affluent when your sister was
Yeah.
being
Oh yeah.
raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They had more resources, and I mean yeah. Yeah.
So, as I mentioned in the bio, just to remind everybody, you have become a published author. So, not just everybody knows. Everybody goes, "Oh, I know everybody's a published author this today." No, it's not. Actually, it's just under 5% of North Americans actually publish a book. So that's a very small percentage of people. So when we talk about this seems that it was a journey for you, and I'd like you to walk us through this. Sister Siren is about your younger sister and the addiction and challenges that you went through, and learning to love and I'm guessing letting go of some of the things. So walk us through a bit of what the journey was of growing up with your sister's journey, and then how that metamorphosized into you becoming this published author?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, or I touched on, is that we're a family of high functioning professionals. Dad's a trial lawyer, mom's a PhD, head of her department, and then she at the University of Alaska, and then she has this other business where she is. Oh no, don't bark, dog. Okay, she has this other business where she is delivering services and educating delivering GED, English as a second language, vocational training, so people can be employed. That's a whole separate business in addition to being, PhD head of the department. Anywho, my sister has a master's degree in counseling, and she was a college athlete. She was captain of her soccer team, and so all of, sorry, all of this was happening right under our nose. We did not know that my sister had an addiction issue because everything she was doing. I'm sorry. Everything she was doing was she was a high performer, so we didn't know. Um, so then when it kind of landed in our lap is the way I can say it, because she was really good at not letting us know. I have my theories of how it happened, but I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV type thing, but I have my theories. But when it landed in our lap, we had to navigate how we were going to come together and deal with this, because you just can't stop loving somebody. It's not like, okay, well, okay, she's an addict. I'm not going to love her anymore. I couldn't stop loving her, but I and the family needed a way to noodle through how can we do this and support her through her addiction to get her to a place of healing, or support her in a place for healing. And so that's really what the book is about. It's how this landed in our lap. This was happening. We didn't know. We and then how we navigated and we each had our own limitations. My mom was like the consummate financial enabler, and my dad was, well, I know I raised her right, I mean, and I'm an overgiver and a fixer, and all of that, we my husband is he had his limits and how he stepped in as well, and we were raising our kids. They were teenagers at the time, and so how are we gonna share this and navigate this with our teenage children? And I mean, it's not like she's just going to stop being their aunt. I mean, she's always going to be
Yep.
their aunt. Um,
Yep.
so that's really what the book is about, is how we navigated it, how we all stepped in, and not just the family, our community. I meant, at the beginning of this, we talked about how we're a close-knit community, and I mean, you can't go to the grocery store here without seeing somebody. So, and they're asking about your sister, or they're asking about your
Yeah.
auntie, or asking about your mom, so yeah.
When we think of addiction, we think, or I think, that addiction tends to be connected to some sort of pain, discomfort, mental health, trauma, something along those lines. Was there anything in your sister's journey that because it doesn't sound as if it was a genetic predisposition, because I do believe that addiction has genetic predispositions. I am not a doctor. I'd love to play one on TV if anybody has a role, but I do believe that there are, just as people view. I'm the eternal optimist, and my husband's the uh, ever ready pessimist. So that's why we balance each other, and that is all by nature, right? Was there anything that maybe you saw that clued you, or in hindsight that you sit here and go, oh, okay, aha?
Well, when there's so many, in my opinion, so many portals to addiction, whatever the addiction is. whether it's drugs, and in my sister's case, it was heroin and meth. That was her addiction. But there's food, and there's gambling, and there's sex, and there's all kinds of addictions, or video games, yada yada. But with my sister, she was in the Arctic Winter Games. You might know this from being from Canada.
Yeah.
This is a thing. And so my sister was a speed skater, and she was in one of the horses. I can't remember if it's Dead Horse or White Horse, whichever one's in Canada.
White Horse.
She was in that horse. So Dead Horse must be in Alaska, and White Horse is in Alaska. Anyway, she's in the horse in Canada. And she's doing the speed skating, or she's competing. She lost an edge, skated, went feet first into the boards, and broke her ankle. And they triaged and set her up in Canada, which for Alaskans, even though we feel that we're related to Canada, it's still considered a foreign country.
Yeah, go figure.
By Alaska standards, Alaska America standards. Anyway, so, and this was in the late 80s, early 90s, okay? And hydrocodone and oxycodone it was not known, and the addictive qualities of that medication that was given for pain. And that was given to my 13-year-old sister. She was 13-ish. Okay. So she broke her ankle, and she's given that kind of medication for, a serious physical injury. I mean, I'm a personal injury attorney. I know broken ankles. I do slip and fall cases. Those mamas hurt. Okay.
Yeah.
They're debilitating. And
they're lifelong. The pain is lifelong. I'm 40 years now. I broke my ankle in 8th grade. So probably right around the same age as your sister. And it's lifelong.
And then shortly after that, she is assessed with ADHD, which there's another medication for that, which I've come to learn is basically meth light. And so my theory is her body, her physical body, and her mind and her spirit learned from a young age to be dependent upon medication, and it grew from there, and her tolerance level grew from there. And that's about the time that I'm doing my thing. I'm in college, I'm in law school. I mean, she was the maid of honor in my wedding. She was, she was 15 when I got married, and then she was 16 when my son was born. And so it progressed from there when she went on to through high school, and she was messing around with other drugs. Again, coaches didn't know, parents didn't know, community didn't know, because she's high functioning now. She's already learned how to deal with this. I can play soccer and get scholarships and go to, and play at a college level and become the captain of the women's. I mean, she was considering playing for the Seattle team. I want to say it's the Sounders, the women's team.
Wow.
Because she was that good. Yeah. And she had broken her ankle, but she's still killing it, but high functioning.
Yeah.
She chose the academic route and went and got her master's in counseling. But still, this was her use of drugs and medication, which were legally prescribed, for pain. I mean, and that's after she broke her ankle, there were other injuries with soccer and, such like that. There were other injuries. Yeah. And so it kept going.
So walk me through where you're at today.
Well, this March of 2023, she will be in recovery years. So there's a happy ending to this. I mean, there was a time where it got really low. I mean, it grew to where she was homeless on the streets of Anchorage, and it can get 20 below, Kim, in Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, it absolutely. It's, I mean, and that's it's interesting, because we were actually chatting about this beforehand, is that the colder climates, you don't tend to see as much, you don't see the homelessness. unless it's absolutely dire. You just don't see the homelessness as you would like in California or in Arizona, places where, quite frankly, you can be without a roof.
Hmm.
Yeah, you don't do that here. You don't do
Right.
that north
So in
north
the
of
colder
this.
climates, they go to trap houses. These houses that are abandoned and trapped out, and so that's it's a different kind of homelessness. It's very dank. It's very I'm shaking as I talk about it. So I went to those places to find her, to support her the way that I could. So you're right. It's a different kind of homelessness. In Alaska, it gets very dark in the
Yeah.
wintertime, are dark and are light. So like homelessness in the summertime in Alaska is just camping in Alaska, go fishing,
Yeah.
get your fish. It's like, not a problem. But in the wintertime, you're correct. Problem, because your water freezes. Okay. So, I mean, when you're bringing water to a trapped out place, if it's going to be overnight, it's frozen,
Yeah.
um, things like that.
Well, and
So,
it's also dangerous. It's dangerous because there's a lot of predators in those spaces,
yes,
and the danger, especially to a female, um,
you're
is
absolutely
incredible. Is
Yep.
incredible.
That's
Um,
also included in the what you were talking about, how I wrote the book. That's one of the reasons I wrote it. Was I was writing the book that I felt I needed at the time, and I was really caught up and distracted, with these feelings of my sister being in trapped out places and unsafe places, and I call them RFFs in my book, red flag feelings. And I just started having to, it also includes like self-care tips, because I realized, oh my gosh, I've got to get a hold of this. If I don't get a hold of my own self, I'm not going to be able to be
yeah.
present for her. And so it's also like the tools that I came up with that I could use to support and be with her in a way that would be effective. So I would meet with my red flag feelings. My first one was fear. I mean, I was afraid she was going to die. I was afraid that I would be the one to identify the body, that I'd have to tell my
Yeah.
parents. And so I met with that red flag feeling, and red flag feelings of resentment, and stuff like that. But that helped me show up for her. Just truly stand in calmness in the chaos of that's addiction.
So we're moving into a season where a lot of people are going to be coming together and could be actually coming together for the first time in very long time. This is going to be a very high triggering season. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. It's everything keeps pounding at us. And if you are a family with somebody that you're in fear for, because at the end of the day, you can be as mad as you want. You can, draw the line as much as you want. But at the end of the day, if you love somebody, you fear for them. You fear for them. What are three strategies that you could share with us that helped you navigate to this point where you can be so strong in speaking about this journey?
Yeah. First is educating yourself on what the addiction is with your loved one, and having an understanding of what the potential triggers would be, and what their needs are. So educating yourself. The next tool would be to talk with your family and your loved ones, what I call family. We have that a lot in Alaska because
Yeah.
we're like disconnected from the lower 48, right? So a lot of our families in the lower 48, so we call it family up here, friends that are family.
Yeah.
But talking with your family about what kind of gathering are we going to have? I can't stop loving her. I'm inviting her. How
Yeah.
are we going to do this? Or what are some ideas? So we're all on the same team on this. And what can we do? What is each willing to do? Each has their own limits. Some people use the word boundaries, but whatever it is, okay, do that. Um, so so for example, uh, our family likes to. I'm a hockey mom. So I have an ice rink in my front yard. So we have Coco skating parties. Okay. Without the Baileys. Okay.
Yeah.
So, host a sober event is the other thing. Sober for whatever the addiction is. But yeah, so we like to ski, we like to sled, we like to skate, we like to walk in nature. I mean, there's so many other things that we can do. And then if you're hosting an event like dinner party or whatever, don't, if you know that there's someone who's antagonistic or triggering for the addict that you love, don't sit them next to Uncle Bob, who's going to say ask the question or be how Uncle Bob is. Okay. Sorry to all the Uncle Bobs out there. I'm just
There are no Uncle Bobs personally intended for this. So,
you know what I mean? And then
Yep.
also reach out to the addict you love and say, hey, I love you. And it'd really be great if you're here. And, have an if this, then that situation. And what is it that you need from me? How can I support you? And I'll be your emergency contact. I'll be your exit plan. If you can do that, if that's your limit. Like I knew for my kids, they couldn't do that, right? At the time when they were teenagers, no way. And I know like my husband, he has his limits, no way. But I could do that for my sister. So I could be that person. My mom couldn't, my dad couldn't, but I could. And I like, if you need an exit plan, I'm your buddy, and so those are the strategies I would offer.
So it sounds a lot around education and communication. Again, we're just common sense, like coming down and really taking a look at this, and being compassionate. I think that's a big one is compassion,
Folks are
right?
so afraid to talk about it because, oh,
Yep.
what feelings am I going to hurt? Am I saying the wrong thing? Just be you. you know,
Exactly. These are not contagious. Just saying, just let it's kind of like when a parent starts having Alzheimer's or challenges around that. It's like all of a sudden people quit, like they don't want to acknowledge it. And it's like, it's not contagious. I promise it's not contagious. Um, you know,
right. It gets down to how you're going to step in
it
to what's happening.
and ask. If you don't know what to say, you say, you know what, Michaela, I'm not sure how to approach this. I'd like to ask, but what do you believe is the proper way of putting this? How can I be involved? Just ask. Most people want to share. Most people want to have uh, either an alibi or a partner. It just depends
Right.
on what pays. I am super, super happy to hear about your sister's uh, uh, 4 years sober. And I know that myself having family with addictions, that it is an everyday, this is the reality of who I am, and this is what I must work on. Do you still practice a lot of those things that you did while sobriety was on the in the horizon? Do you still practice a lot of
Absolutely.
those? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, my sister and I, we get together we have sister dates as we call them. So we try and get
Awesome.
together once a week and kind of, just be sisters. We're also, our mother, has Alzheimer's and it's a progressive disease and our father had a stroke in February of this year. And he is the primary caregiver for my mom. And so when that happened and he's in the hospital, I mean, stuff was getting real,
Yeah.
Mom didn't know where dad was. My sister, she was clean and she's like, I'm so glad I'm clean and I can step into this and be present. I'm like, girl, me too. I prayed for this, but she's able to step in. But I mean, there's always going to be these RFFs peeking up, on whether it's for me, like with resentment or feeling betrayed, and it's just a misinterpretation. But when I meet with them, when I meet with those RFFs and I get to the nubbins of what it is, then I'm able to step into the conversation with whoever it is, whether it's my sister or it's my father. I can't as much with my mom, but I'll tell you what, this addiction thing was a great precursor for dealing with Alzheimer's. You just don't take it personally. Like, she's like, I'll show up now with my mom, and she's like, and my mom, my mom, she's the hostess with the mostest. She's head of her department, PhD. And I'll show up at the house, and she's like, you think you're in charge, don't you? I'm like, oh, no, I do not. I'm just herding cats, Mom. Dr. Kelley, just,
Oh, hilarious.
Just know not to take some of this stuff that happens with the diseases that are in other people's life personally, and just stepping in on how you can step in and best support and just be your best in that moment. Prepare for that moment. Like, if you know you're going out to see Mom, Dr. Kelley, prepare for the moment. If you're going to meet with the addict you love and you're having some issues and some consternation with an RFF, get to the nubbins of it so you can step into that moment with the people that you love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Share with us time, that was a real day for resiliency, and that without that hard push, you wouldn't be having the same conversation you're having right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The moment that comes to mind is when I drove through a snowstorm to a trap house to get my sister to a medical appointment, a treatment appointment. And I had received a call from the doctor that if she didn't make this appointment, he was gonna he couldn't keep her as a patient anymore. So she needed to go. And I showed up, and I'm knocking on the door, and this is it's a scary place, Kim. It was dark, the snow's going down, and through the light, you see it going, and there's no handle on the door, but there's a dog has its snout through the nose, and it sniffing at me. And I'm knocking on the door, and my sister's in the second floor, and she opens up the window, and I said, come on, we got to go to this a doctor's appointment. And she's like, I'm not going. I'm like, if you don't go, you're going to get fired. Put your hair in a bun, get your ass down here, or going to the thing. I just drove like 40 minutes in a friggin' snowstorm. Come on. Sis, I'm not going. Closes the window. And I'm just sitting there in the snow, and this is happening. And I'm like, this is how it's going to happen. She's going to die. And she's so close, but she's so far away, and it felt like she chose drugs and junkies over me, our relationship, our family. And that was very hard. I was leaving the next day on a flight to see my girlfriend posse in effect, as I call them. I when she closed the window, I wrote a letter. I wrote her a note, and I took one of the needles on the ground, and I stuck the note into the door jamb, just saying, I was here. You didn't come with me. You're going to be cut off. Blah, blah, blah. I love you, sister. And then I'm in the Minneapolis airport, transitioning to go to the East Coast, and I get a 907 call. 907 is our area code, so I knew it was from Alaska. And if it's 6 o'clock in the morning in Minnesota, then it's like 3 o'clock in the morning in Alaska. So whoever's calling me from a number I don't recognize is 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was my sister. And she's like, you're just pissed because I'm not doing what you want me to do. And I mean, it was really nasty. And it hadn't ever been that way, Kim. And I mean, we're straight talkers, but we're not nasty talkers, and it was nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty mean. And I said, You're 110% right. I'm out. And I hung up the phone. Never done that before. I don't give up on people. It's not the way I am. It was the first time I'd done that. And I got into Pittsburgh to see my girlfriend Posse in Effect. And it was the next day. And she called again and she was contrite. And I was making myself a detox bath because it was so emotional. Everything was so emotional. And I was flying and I was traveling. And I'm like, I get to the hotel. I thought I'd lost my sister. Like I thought, okay, we're done. I'd lost her. And I was pouring myself this detox bath with Epsom salts and lavender. Like I went from the airport to the Walmart, got my stuff to the hotel room, got everything in there, and I'm pouring myself a bath. And she called again. And she was contrite. And I was business, still loved her, but it was business because I realized I wanted her recovery more than she did. And I was in the way. She wasn't doing it my way. And so she had to do it her way without me, being a little bitch, as she said, to do it my way. But that was a pretty, I feel, resilient moment, probably the most resilient.
And simply that you have the relationship with her today is testament to the resiliency within that moment. Because like you said, many people will walk. And you just gave space. That's the beauty of that moment. You gave space so she could step into her path. And you're still there. I have to say kudos, and I have to say anybody who is struggling out there and who is now coming face to face with people that maybe they haven't been face to face with over the last few years, this would definitely be a book. And sometimes as human beings, we just need to know that we're not alone. That somebody else has walked this path. And that's really important. So let's talk.
Big time.
So we've talked about the book. Where can we find your book?
Well, it's on Amazon. So if you type in Sister Siren and Michaela Canterbury, that's Michael with an A, Canterbury like the tails, not like a strawberry. Okay. So Michaela Canterbury, or Sister Siren, Michaela Canterbury, you'll find it. It'll come up on Amazon. And then it's also, we just, was it this month? It's available in bookstores. So if you call your local bookstore and say, hey,
wow.
So, and we're looking into getting it on audio. I think that's something I'm going to have in the works for early next year. So I've had a lot of requests for that. So that's something I'm going to be looking at. But it's in bookstores and it's on Amazon.
That is amazing. And just so folks know, that getting into bookstores is not easy. It is not easy. And, congratulations. That is huge. That is huge. Where can people find you? Are you doing anything? Like, do you have any talks? Do you speak? Like, is there anything that you are excited. You are excited. You know what? For those of you who are listening to this, she is like bubbling out of her chair. So tell me, where can we find you? How can we follow you? And how can we learn from you?
I am bubbling out of my chair because I'm so excited. Like, for example, like this Friday, I'm speaking at our local yoga studio, but my sister's joining me, and I'm doing an author fireside chat, in our community at our local yoga studio, and it's going to be a packed studio, and I'm just so excited because my sister's going to be there too. And my sister wrote the prologue to the book, and my dad wrote the epilogue. So I got those beautiful bookends. And so, yeah, she'll be reading her prologue, and I'll be reading from chapter 16, which is basically two sides of the same coin. But anyway, yeah, so you can find me at the local Yucca studio in Eagle River, Alaska. But my website is www, do they still say that? .mk Canterbury, MK Canterbury, again, like the tails, not like a strawberry, .com. And MK, Lord have mercy, www.mkcanterbury. And my author email address is author@mkcanterbury.com. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter. I don't use it that much, and ever since Elon Musk is doing his thing, I don't quite know what's going on.
Yeah,
I figured out something.
I've kind of given up on Twitter. It's like I have no idea. I have no idea.
I don't get it.
So, I don't get it. How do you go from cars and rocket ships to Twitter? You know, what does a little blue bird have to do with, I don't know. So that's a whole nother show, folks. That's a whole nother show. So I would love for you to take us out today on a quote that inspires you. And I love the quote that you shared. And not only give us a quote, but tell us why. Give us that little why.
Well, the quote that I love is from I ascribe it to my grandmother, Grandma Kelley, where she would say, worrying is praying for what you don't want. So pray for what you do want. And because so many people I worry about. I'm like, worrying is pray what you don't want. Pray for what you do want. So just to make it, that Grandma Kelley was stealing it from somebody, I looked it up, to make sure. Well, then I found out that it was attributed to Robert Downey Jr. I'm like, oh, my grandma.
Yeah, grandma's older than Robert, so
I know it came from her. So
now we just got to figure out how Robert Downey Jr. met Grandma Kelley. There's another show for you folks. See, we're just lining up one show after another. Again, thank you so much, Michaela. This has been really insightful. And again, it shares with us the basic human decency and compassion and, just giving grace to those around you and to yourself. And it's okay to say, right now, I'm taking a bath. I need a bath, right? Give yourself some grace. That's it for today, folks. I just can't say enough about the journey of family and the journey of those that you love, because none of us are perfect. All of us will falter. And being kind and compassionate and stepping in when it's needed and knowing the boundaries and knowing how to serve them is such an incredible art, and an art that you can read about in Sister Siren. So do look that up. What a great gift to yourself or to a family member this Christmas. Again, Kim Hayden here at Kim Talks Resilience. And if you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging just that wee bit, you know what? Listen and lean into our resilient community. Get your free gift. And this is a monthly magazine, totally free. I'm not asking for a credit card or any of that. I just want to help serve you the way that I know that I like to be served. So treat others as you would want to be treated. And that is resilientgift.com. Again, it's resilientgift.com. Go up there, sign up. You'll get that monthly magazine and all the cool stuff we're doing here at the Resilient Community. So until next time, be kind to yourself. Bye for now.